Good evening, class. This is Alan Vasquez, and I'm going to be going over the ESE 280 final. I don't have a big printer, and I haven't had the time to go to the store and buy supplies to, make a poster, paste it together, and record myself presenting this. But I did find a way to use Microsoft Publisher to combine some research that I've been doing and then combine that with the components that are being asked in this class, specifically for within the subject of ADHD. Okay, so this is a brochure that talks about what ADHD is and a problem that has been going, and it has to do with the increasing prevalence of ADHD diagnosis in America. Okay, so there's my title. There's my heading right there. Key reasons for the growing crisis of ADHD in American children. We have some facts and solutions that we can discuss later if I have the time for the program that I'm using, or you can simply pause the video and look at the information here. Okay, moving on. So what is ADHD? ADHD is it's an acronym for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. It's a neurological disorder commonly seen in children that impedes academic advancement due to hyperactivity or inattentiveness. Okay, so ADHD can be diagnosed into two different types or a combination of these two types, which is known as a combined type. Okay, so inattentive. So inattentive, for a child to be diagnosed as inattentive, 6 of the following symptoms have to be occurring constantly. And the same applies for hyperactive impulsive. 6 of the following symptoms, they have to be occurring constantly. Okay? So for both criterias, inattentive or hyperactive, we're seeing 9 different criterions within the criteria. Okay, so 1, 6, 8, 3, 4, 5. I mean, if they're all showing, if the child is showing all these different things at the same time, then that child could be categorized as an inattentive or diagnosed as inattentive type of ADHD. Okay, so the subject does not pay close attention to details. The subject or the child has problems staying focused on tasks or activities. The child does not listen when spoken to. The child does not follow instructions nor finishes classwork or class duties. The child is easily distracted, has problems organizing work, avoids subjects that involve tasks that require sustained mental effort, or this is when the child is, often loses necessary work items such as pencils, erasers, calculators, netbooks, all these items that that some of these children may lose often. These are things that psychiatrists or psychologists are closely looking for when it comes to the diagnosis of this particular neurological disorder. The subject often forgets daily tasks. Okay, for young adults that are 17 or older, the occurring constant symptoms, instead of 6, it changes to 5 for both criterions, hyperactive or inattentive. Anyways, on the other side, hyperactive or impulsive, the subject constantly fidgets or taps hands or feet. This is when the child is not able to remain seated and is always rocking around. The subject runs or climbs in inappropriate places. The child is always on the go. It won't stop. The child talks too much. The child blurts out answers before the question is asked by the teacher. The subject is unable to play or do leisure activities quietly. The child has difficulties waiting for his or her turn. And the child cuts into conversations, games, or activities. So these are the symptoms that have to be simultaneously playing 6 out of the 9 in order for the child to be diagnosed as impulsive hyperactive type or inattentive type. Okay? And then there's the combined type, which basically stands for a combination. So it could be 3 on inattentive and 3 on hyperactive. Okay? What causes ADHD is still not known, but it has to do with, with studies that have been done, the components that go in the body of a pregnant mother. So this could be the things that we breathe or eat. A lot of it has to do with, lead. Lead can be found in the form of an air pollutant, or it could also be found in many things that we eat, that are used by a metal stove that has lead in it. So these things, these components, these toxins get into the body of a mother that may be born, that is pregnant, and the baby takes all that in. The baby is born, and the baby can eventually develop ADHD. Premature births are also one of the linked causes that have been studied. And then children, this is when they're already born and they get a brain injury. ADHD has been linked to brain injuries. Okay? Anyway, so let's take a look at the problem with the prevalence of ADHD. Okay, so I'm going to go over this very, very quickly because I only have so much time. Okay, so I'm only going to focus on this green section right here, and then all of these other rectangles, they are all connected within this web. So the problem is that America has been experiencing an estimated increment of ADHD diagnosis of around 5% per year in the past 10 years. So it's been constantly increasing. In 2012, the CDC, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, recorded that over 5 million children ages 3 to 17 were diagnosed with ADHD. And there's 3 reasons why this prevalence have been happening. Faults in diagnostic processes, peer influence. So basically this has to do with a more social problem. So the children and whoever's around the children that is diagnosed with ADHD. And then conflicts of interest. Okay? Big pharmaceutical companies. So anyway, let's take a look at this web. So in the center we see the problem, prevalence of ADHD. And then we see 3 colors. Faults, peer influence, conflicts of interest. So let's focus on faults in diagnostic process real quick. The reason why this is happening is because we're seeing problems with experts that diagnose children. They're not following the diagnostic criteria. A lot of these experts are only diagnosing these children once or twice, and then that's it. They get their definite diagnosis. This needs to be repeated more often. More diagnosis. Confusion with diagnosis of ADHD with other similar disorders, such as conduct disorder or oppositional defiant disorder. Okay? Peer influence. So there's two things that also contribute to the prevalence of ADHD under peer influence. One of them is known as spurious contagion. Okay? Now, spurious contagion, this is, for example, children may mimic the impulsive behavior of classmates, thus increasing the chances of being diagnosed as impulsive by experts. Children are copying the impulsive behavior of their impulsive friends, and then it starts getting the attention of experts that are responsible for diagnosing children. Okay? The other blue category is diagnosis conversion. This is when you, for example, when you learn about a disease. Your head is hurting. And it's not only hurting, it's hurting in the frontal part of my head. And you start doing some research. Oh, it's hurting the frontal part. I must have cancer. And because you think you have cancer and you've read about it on the internet, you auto-diagnose yourself. Okay? Without seeing an expert. So this is diagnosis conversion. This is very interesting because because you read over the information on the symptoms of ADHD online, you go out there and you tell your neighbor, hey, you know what? I read this on Wikipedia or whatever. Your child may have ADHD because I read it online. Check this out, you know? So this is known as diagnosis conversion. Finally, we're going to go over this real quick. This is conflicts of interest. Okay? So this has to do with big pharmaceutical companies. The investment strategies of low-cost benefit analysis of pharmaceutical companies generate profits by advertising their ADHD medical products and generating unintended causes. Pharmaceutical companies partner with popular health websites and create their own website domains in efforts to generate revenue in sales of ADHD medication. This increases the prevalence of ADHD diagnosis in children. So big pharmaceutical companies, they invest money, they create their own websites, or they invest into creating ads in popular websites, yes, such as the Centers for Disease Control website. Little things here and there hidden within the website pointing out that, hey, your children should seek medical solutions to treat ADHD. You know, so it's basically getting parents into seeking medical treatment, which is supplied by big pharmaceutical companies. Okay, and then there's these groups, support groups. There's a very popular one known. What is the name of this? Well, I'm gonna read this. It's advocacy support groups intended to inform and help society receive sums of money from pharmaceutical companies to promote their products. This results in boost to ADHD medication sales. And then this is the dirty subject. Expert panel members, health panel members, they often have economic ties to pharmaceutical companies, making recommendations that promote the profit-making plans for pharmaceutical companies. So the members, so this is more political. So the members, these political members, they have big pharmaceutical company ties, and they work together and they change the definition of what ADHD is according to what's scripted on the DSM, the diagnosis, the manual for diagnosis. Okay, so I'm gonna zoom out so you can see this poster. And so you can pause and see the information that is in here, but I am running out of time. So this has been what I've been working on lately. Okay, I'm gonna go back to the first page so that you can go and take a look at the facts that I was able to find. Okay, and these are some solutions that I researched. A prescription is not always the answer. You know, exercise does make a huge difference in reducing energy levels. And this is just some statistics on medication. It has to do with the increase rate. And this is where I'll end my video. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and I enjoyed your class very, very much. Thank you.